following program is part of the Patriot Broadcasting Project, brought to you by the Scene Projects Podcast Network. Welcome into the Patriot Broadcasting Network. I'm your host, Bubba Startz, and with me today on the show is my brother, Troy Winslow. Welcome to the show, Troy.
Hey, man. Thanks for having me, brother. Appreciate you.
Well, we've been friends for quite a while. I don't know if we were in school together. Probably not. I think you graduated a little bit before me, but the reason we came together today is because we've both been on a journey for truth, a journey for educating and waking up the people around us to the madness that happens every day. And I thought it was good for us to go ahead and record the conversation and to share a little bit of our stories today for other people that feel the same way. Call us truthers. Most of the world calls us conspiracy theorists, but I think as more and more time goes on, and the theories are proven true, I think we're just theorists. Are we theoretical human beings now?
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing with the word conspiracy theory is a lot of people don't know what the words actually mean. They use the word conspiracy to mean theory or to mean fiction, where the word conspiracy is two or more people conspiring to do harm to another person or more than that. So if me and you were conspiring on how to do a prank on somebody, that's a conspiracy. That is you and I conspiring. The theory part of it is, well, I think they are conspiring. Whereas most of what I talk about and I share can be proven with official documentation or the words out of their own damn mouth. So it's really not conspiracy theory. It's conspiracy fact, and we're just basically pointing it out and exposing it.
Right. They are just conspiracies.
Yeah, it's just conspiracies, man, and we're just pointing them out. It's absolutely everything I say. If I say that I can prove it, I can prove it with their own words, their own documents. I can prove it. You know what I mean?
And that's exactly why I really wanted to start, this adventure with you, because I have been brought to so much, your own research has led me to so many facts. And right out of, like you said, right out of the horse's mouth, we're talking about military documents, official documentation, proving a lot of what you're talking about all the time. So I wanted to start with a little bit of our story, and I want you to go first. What is it that brought you to the edge of the rabbit hole?
Well, we start with 9/11, obviously that day when the buildings came down, me and my dad was a pyrotechnician, so he had a lot of experience with explosives and stuff like that, and knew a lot about demolitions and whatnot. So when the first two towers come down, those did not look like a typical controlled demolition. They looked like some form of controlled demolition, but not the typical take it out at the base and let it fall in its own footprint. The two main towers came down floor by floor, and you can see that in the video now. You can see it popping out way below where it's actually collapsing. However, building 7 that was not hit by anything, that came down at near free fall speeds, symmetrically at all four corners. That was very obviously a controlled demolition. But I couldn't figure it out as a kid, dude. I was like, what about I've been like 20 years old at the time, and I couldn't figure out the why. Like, why would our own government do that, right? And then a few years after that, I saw the documentary Loose Change, and that gave me the why. And that's when I woke up and started understanding how governments work, how the people that are in government work. And that's where I started down the rabbit hole, was with that one. 9/11 was the big one. And then from there, dude, it was just reading and learning and then looking at documents. And when I really got pissed off was I was reading into Agenda 21 by the United Nations, and I was looking at the Biodiversity and Wildlands Project. And in that project, they have a map that is color-coded to show you where no humans will be allowed. The idea of that project was to push everybody into megacities, like 10 megacities throughout the country, and let nature go back to itself. So on this map, it shows you the key, and the color red symbolizes little to no human activity. And the Black Hills of South Dakota, my home, was clearly covered in red. So I saw then, like, they have a plan to wipe us out and to move us all into cities. So I thought, well, all I got to do is expose this to people, and they'll be pissed off like me. And then I started telling people, and all they could do was roll their eyes, call me crazy, and say that'll never happen here. And that's kind of where the journey started of being the truther and the crazy conspiracy theorist and all that shit.
But it's seated in a love for your other human beings. Like the
Absolutely.
only reason that you would go out there and risk someone calling you crazy is love. You don't
Absolutely.
do you don't do it because you hate them. You know, I'm not telling
I
you
don't benefit
this.
from it. I
Right.
don't benefit financially or any other way other than living, other than surviving, on my land, having my own property where I'm at. And other than that, dude, I'm a populist. Yeah, like power to the people. And I thought that everybody would follow along and believe the same thing I did. But a lot of people aren't even willing to look, and they'll say, "Oh, I'd love to see that." You're like, "Okay, I'll pull it up right here." They're like, "Well, I don't have time for that." Like, well, I thought you said you wanted to see it though, you know. But I get it, man. Being,
Yeah,
as they
well,
say, ignorance is bliss, bro.
and ignorance is there because we're also damn busy just trying to survive. And that's
Yep.
how they use the taxes and everything that hopefully we're going to see a change in that over the next few years here as income tax. I mean, we are tax slaves. Guy that
Yep.
I listen to a lot, Andy Frisella, he talks about it all the time. We've been living in tax slavery for over 100 years now, and every time that the little guy starts to get a little bit more power, they just assess more taxes in the name of climate change or equality or diversity or all these buzzwords that they like to throw out there. And without even having a political bent to it, because they've played and are playing currently both sides, the people in control don't wear red or blue. And
No.
that's something that, I'm sure a lot of people will see the name of our network even and be like, oh, well, they're just Trumpers, It's like, well, yes, I did vote for President Trump in this round. And if I would have been in the country, I would have voted for him in 2016. He was a very big reason why I came back from Mexico when I did, right? It was an eye-opening experience that the media and these few that are in control of what actually reaches our eyes are completely implicit in this plan. They have been the vessel for since TV and movie and radio has all been there, right? I mean, and well before that as well. But we just came into this age of now guys like us can make our own networks and we can make our own followings and we can spread our own messages to the people. And I just felt that it was so necessary to bring people and to bring people that are close to me that I trust in to build our own community and to begin this journey together. This show and what we plan to do moving forward is more about organization, is more about, not just education, because anyone can get educated at this point. The information's out there, and a big part of what we will do is to aggregate that and to begin to organize that for people that you can go as deep as you want to go. But the first step is in realizing that there is a problem. And we're kind of in this wave right now where a lot of people woke up to the communist agenda that was being pushed on top of us, that was hiding a lot of these more nefarious things that we're talking about and that we're seeing now. I mean, California is on fire. That's not natural. That is not just climate change, drying it out and effect. No, that's not
Right.
what it is. It is the effect of direct energy weapons. We know this. We know the technology that they're using. We are watching them do it in real time. But what do we do about it? And the
Right.
only way to get there is to begin organizing, is to begin taking all of these, people that have been pushed to the fringes, and then all of us looking at each other and being like, oh, well, there's a lot of us out here. If we all came together, we would
That's the
have
key.
some power to affect some change. So that is exactly what kind of brought us to today. My big eye-opening experience was obviously the whole COVID pandemic, man. I mean,
Yep. Absolutely.
I just don't, and people I knew and people that I saw that I didn't necessarily think of as a sheep, when you begin to push fear 24/7, a ticker of how many deaths are
Yeah.
happening now. And like, that's
Wow.
insane. That's insane, man. That was the real eye opening to me, is like, not only is everything that my crazy friends told me true, it's happening. It's happening right now, and we better open up our freaking eyes.
Yeah,
And
man.
it is no doubt ostracized me from people that would be fans of my music or fans of this or that or other, right? I'm glad that now in my life I don't need all of those people, right? I'm not playing the game that the mainstream media played, and the game that they sold us, right? Well, you got to be, squeaky clean to everybody, and you don't want to ruffle any feathers, and you don't know, fuck that. I'm here to ruffle your feathers. If you can't handle your feathers being ruffled, then you don't belong on this planet in this time anyway, because it's going to get a lot worse before it gets better, as evidenced by the last 4 years of shit that has fallen upon us. So
Right.
to fix it is going to take 20 times as much work as it did to get us into this mess. And it's going to take a lot more time, and it's going to take a lot more people. So we talked for, a solid half hour off camera about how do you do that? And I think community is the only way. And to Well, and talk about that, because I know you have to be members of communities. You've been in this, 15 years. You've been going down these rabbit holes. It hasn't been an individual pursuit. I would assume that you've had people around you that have guided you in ways, and hey, man, you should check this out. So talk a little bit, and maybe if you want to shout out some people that you follow to begin this education process. You mentioned Loose Change. What was kind of the next thing for you that was like, oh, this is deeper than even that?
God forbid I say the name. Alex Jones is a big one. Alex Jones has been telling the truth for 30 years, screaming it. He's got some wild antics. He's hard to watch. He's hard to listen to. But if you go and you read his articles, if you go to the like InfoWars or any of Alex Jones websites and you read the articles, and then you continue on, like follow up yourself and go dig for that information, you'll find out that 99% of what Alex Jones has ever said, all of it's true, man. Mike Adams, the health ranger, another big one. The guy sells probably the cleanest, most tested food in the world. He has super integrity, very willing to admit when he's wrong. Will tell you, like, I don't know if this is true or not. This is what I believe. Or he'll tell you, I know for a fact it's true. So those are probably the two biggest names. Stu Peters has been another big one over the since COVID started, is when he kind of came out. But with everything, dude, I don't trust any of them 100%. So when they say something that I'm interested in, I go dig. And I'll dig and dig and dig until I can find something that establishes a sense of proof. Like, again, documents. Owning the Weather by 2025. It's a document. It's on the internet. It's on the Air Force website right now. The replacement migration plan that nobody talks about. Let me talk about this for a second, dude. So there's a document. It's on the United Nations website right now. If you go to Google and type in replacement migration, it'll be the first option that pops up. It takes you to the UN's own website, and it is a full document. I believe like 118 pages or something like that explains their plan on how to replace the populations of European countries in the United States. It's all in black and white. It's on their own website. So it's not someone just made some shit up and put it on the internet, dude. It's on the United Nations website. But not one politician has ever mentioned. I've never heard a single politician ever mention that document. Trump's never mentioned it. Biden, none of them. It doesn't. Thomas Massey has never mentioned that document. So it gives me some idea that maybe they're all in on it because they're not pointing at the absolute proof that it's a real thing. So they keep talking about, oh, it's a conspiracy theory, the Great Replacement. Dude, it's their own words. They put it out for everyone to see it, and I can't get anyone to even look at it. So,
and it's happening. How do you not deny the 30 million people that weren't here 4 years ago that are now here in the United States? And it's not just here. I have friends in the United Kingdom. They've gone through their own, and that's a lot smaller place, right? That's a little island.
Europe is almost done as far as like the European culture. And, and we're working on it here now. I mean, we watched it. I've been watching it for 10 years in Europe, them bringing in all the different immigrants and just Paris, France is not what it was when we were kids, man,
Right. And it's mostly
planned out. It's literally written in black and white on the United Nations website. The title of the document is replacement migration. Like, how can you deny that?
Right. Well, and I think that we have less and less of the denial and more of like a shoulder shrug. Well, it's happening,
Yeah, what do you do
right?
about it? What do you
Yeah.
do?
Well, you organize, right?
Organize.
You start to develop communities, of which I'm sure those are out there. I know that, we talked about how we do this. I think a Discord server is probably our start to pull some people over into that. This is what we want to do. This is to organize and to start to at least, at the very least, form some support for all of us who have been completely destroyed mentally and emotionally by just speaking the truth.
Yeah,
If we weren't stronger individuals, we would have stopped doing this a long time ago. But this is
absolutely.
a calling for a reason, especially for me, because I've been doing so many podcasts lately, not all of them with the same topics, but realizing how much it's changing not only myself, but the person on the other side of the camera and on the other side of the screen, and realizing how similar all of the situations are around the world, right? That it's not so much different everywhere else. And this is a global problem. It is a globalist problem. I don't believe that, yes, while all humans are equal, I don't believe that we all have to be the same. How
No,
boring.
absolutely. Yeah, how boring is that?
We should all have different cultures, and to be accepting of other cultures doesn't mean that I have to let that means your culture is my culture, right?
Yeah,
And why would I travel to Mexico if just the Mexican culture is now the American culture? Or, I've lived in Mexico for a year and saw it firsthand and lived with these beautiful, amazing people there as an illegal alien myself. You know what else I was? A strain on their system. As one man with a wife and a child. Imagine what, 10 million of those women and children, and then probably 20 million military aged males. Why are they here? Right? Start asking some real questions. Not everybody's here because their life was so bad or they are seeking asylum or like, just let go. Let go of what you've been told and start fresh. Start fresh and start coming to information without a history. Start
yeah, you
coming
got
to
to
this
unlearn a lot of
information.
stuff, man. You have to
Right.
unlearn, you know?
Right. Well, and it's more just like just wipe it clean. Just and I don't know how everyone didn't do that with the way the election turned out, right? Kamala was right in it. She was right in it, right? And then it's a landslide. So y'all were fucking lying. And you've
Right?
been lying this whole time. You pulled a coup twice.
Yep.
You know what I mean? You've
I've
pulled a
said it for a
couple of
long
them.
time. I've told people like you don't have to believe me. I'll tell I can talk till I'm blue in the face, bro. You don't have to believe me. But my biggest recommendation to start is to stop believing your TV. Stop believing mainstream media because everything from the commercials, the TV shows, the sitcoms, the fucking news, all of it, dude. It's all controlled. It is all very, very finely controlled. And if you don't believe me, look at the list of the staff that it takes to create a TV show or a movie. There's a reason why it takes thousands of people to do that shit because it's very, very, very finely controlled. Down to every little piece in the background of a movie is there for a reason. Every painting, every picture on the wall, every number in the background is there for a reason. Someone had intentions when they put it there. And then you got to just wonder why. Like, what is that there for?
Well, it's to create a reality. It's to create a reality of their choosing and not of your own. And teachings like I mean, you can go back to the teachings of Jesus. He was like, you can do all of this. I don't like you keep asking me to do miracles when you
Right?
can do them yourself. Like, why is this, why do you keep asking me to do these things? You can do them, right? So how have we forgotten how powerful we are? Well, we've forgotten because we sit there in front of that screen and we accept a reality that is not our own.
Yeah. Or you sit in school for 12 years at a desk being told what to do, where you have to raise your hand to ask if you can go to the bathroom. That's a big one to me, bro. Like, you're teaching a kid that he has to ask permission to use the restroom. Like,
The
what
most
what the
basic,
fuck is that?
the most
Yeah.
basic of your needs, right?
Yeah. And you have to ask if you can, will you please allow me to go do that? Like that's ingrained in you from kindergarten all the way up, man. up until maybe your high school years, they start letting kids have a little freedom now. But yeah, dude, and you're taught not to think outside the box. You are taught to memorize what you're being told and then repeat that to the next person. And you can obviously see the effects of that now.
That's probably why I spent so much time in school suspension.
That's why I had to take an alternative to make it through school, bro, because I couldn't do the standard curriculum and all that shit, dude. I couldn't do it.
No, and I don't think that a lot of us that have raised, Troy, you're a little bit older than me, but not by much. I would say we're in that same generation that we're not raising our children like that. My kids go to school every day and they participate in that, but when they come home, I'm not, I'm not holding back anything from them. I am teaching you right now. One big thing to me is, why are we not taught about the effect that the sun has on not just our planet, but the whole solar system, right? The magnetic, I watch space news on YouTube every morning now. And the first thing is, hey, this is what's coming at us from the sun. You got 2 days and a solar flare, an X-class solar flare is going to hit. These are the effects that it's going to have. And it's like, how is this not the top of every news broadcast in the country? Like, why isn't that what we're saying is like, hey, this is going to be bad, but nobody's talking about it. And then bad stuff happens and you're like, holy shit. Well, we would have known that, right? And the more studies they're doing, it's phenomenal. I absolutely love the program because they are, tracing the magnetic pole shifts and how every time that it's happened in the past, it has come with massive societal and geological change, right? How could it not? And I explained it to my son is like, imagine a magnet, right? You got a magnet and that's the Earth's core. And right now it's getting ready to flip completely over. What kind of effects would that have on, you think of the world as solid, but we're really just all these masses that are kind of floating, right? Our crust is floating on top of this thing. So right. You could imagine if there was a giant shift inside of the Earth, like what would happen, right? And he's like, well, then it would reverberate out. And he maybe didn't say reverberate, but he is like, well, it would have changes out here.
Yeah, it's going to have changes. Absolutely. Well, that's like when you bring that up, that brings me to another topic that I've been called crazy for 15, 20 years, whatever it's been, dude. It's been probably 20 years now. Chemtrails. The trails in the sky. I saw that. So initially so when I was a kid, I grew up in Colorado, not far from the, I'm drawing a blank on the name of the airport. It was the airport that was in the first Die Hard movie. It's where they filmed that movie. Anyway, not far from an airport, open plains. You could see everything in the sky. And so I grew up outside every day of my life and I saw the sky and I know what a contrail is. A contrail dissipates along with the speed of the jet, almost within seconds behind the jet. It dissipates and they always did. Never in my life as a child did I see a contrail stay in the sky and then spread out and become cloud cover. Never saw that before as a kid ever. So then about 20 years ago, roughly, me and my wife were driving to spearfish and I see these figure eights in the sky. And I'm like, what the hell is that? She's like, oh, that's just the trail the planes leave, right? And I'm like, no, like contrails don't stay in the sky like that. That's weird. Came home, tried to find something out about it, couldn't find anything. Maybe a month or two later, something. I'm watching a video of Joe Rogan and Eddie Bravo doing jujitsu, and there's a lizard in the gym, and they chased the lizard outside. Happened to look up with the camera, saw the trails. They said the word chemtrail. I'm like, okay, that's what it is. So I started searching chemtrails. Obviously, found a ton of information on it, and it all made sense to me. I had no way of proving it. I've never tested the rainwater myself, so I can't prove what's in it. But I have followed some pretty reliable people from like former military, yada, yada. And then you got this guy now, geoengineeringwatch.org. This guy's fantastic. Dane Wigington is his name, and he's fantastic. But everyone I've told, they go back to telling me it's just contrails, it's just water vapor. Okay, so here's my argument for that. Let's say that it is just water vapor. The fact that it's staying in the sky is creating cloud cover, and you can measure the difference on a solar panel on what it does as far as stopping UV rays from hitting the Earth. Why don't we look at that then? If it's just water, why don't we figure out what effect it's having on us?
Yeah.
If it is just water, we know that it makes cloud cover. We know that it drops the UV rays. What effect is that having? Let's
Well,
start there. Let's
and
start
if
from
it
the
is
reality.
just right, and if it is, then take all the planes out of the sky. We don't need to
Yeah,
travel by plane anymore. If it is
yeah, right,
destroying the earth, right, and it is causing less sunlight to reach us and heal our mitochondrial DNA, right?
right.
And that's and when you start going down, Andrew Huberman and God, I'm spacing on the other doctor. He's been a guest on several shows as well. But when he's like, man, I was a brain surgeon. I opened up and there's light, right? There is light happening inside of you. At the moment that a sperm fertilizes an egg, there's a flash of light. And you're like, wait a minute. Well, this is how mammals survived. We had just enough of that inside of us, right? That's how the evolution of us getting here survived. It's crazy. And then you start to think about the effects. Well, what if we were taking that away from people? Well, then they would get sick, wouldn't
Yep.
they?
There you go. Now you had that's it, dude. Even if it's not chemicals, even if it's just water, we should be looking at and discussing the effects of that water in the sky because again, the result can be measured with any solar panel system. You know what I mean? What effects is that having on the weather? Could that not be itself, even if it's just water, could that not be a form of weather manipulation? Seems to me like it is.
Well, what is rain? Isn't rain just water that comes from the sky? So if you were
Right?
putting more water up there, wouldn't it make more rain?
Make clouds of some kind, yeah, exactly, dude. But I
But
believe
you're crazy,
it's 100%.
Troy.
I
You're
believe it's
crazy.
chemicals, and I believe it's there for a reason. You have Morgellons disease. And even now, if you go on YouTube or you go on Google or whatever and search for Morgellons disease, one of the main like phrases you'll see with that, it's a mystery disease they call it because they don't know what causes it. Funny enough, it started in California around the time they started spraying chemtrails in California, which is one of the first states in the United States where it began. And that's where Morgellons came out, was there. And this is Morgellons, if no one knows, is where you literally start growing silicone-based fibers out of your skin. What the hell's causing that? They say they don't know. Well, I got news for you. It's what's in the sky. That's what's causing it.
Yeah, that you're absorbing through your
Yeah.
skin, through your mouth, through your nose, through everything that you eat, through every animal, every tree, all of it, man. We're going to do this a lot more, Troy. I don't know what we're going to call this show yet, but we're definitely building the community. I want everybody that sees this to know that we believe you. We
Yeah,
believe you, and that you're not crazy here. And maybe that's the name of the show.
that's a good one, bro. You're not crazy. Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
well, you're not crazy here. Well, as soon as you step outside of these walls, everybody's going to call you again.
And
But
I'm a human being, bro. Like I've been wrong. I can be wrong, and I will admit when I'm wrong. There's a lot of cases where I say I pray to God that I'm wrong, and I will say I'm so thankful that I was wrong. Like whatever. There's a lot of that kind of stuff going on. Like I thought some shit was going to happen back when J6 happened. Like I called that. I knew that was coming, and as soon as it happened, I was working that day. I was working on a roof actually, and when I take my lunch break, I open up Telegram, check the news. Oh shit, there's riots at the Capitol. I'm like, oh fuck, here it goes. And then by 5 p.m. that night, you got Biden on TV calling them terrorists, which that's why it happened. That's why 9/11 happened. 9/11 happened. One of the key agendas of that operation was to pass the Patriot Act. Why did they pass the Patriot Act? At the time, we were told it was to go get the big bad Muslims, when in fact, that document was written originally by Joe Biden in 1992 or 1994. I can't remember the date specifically, but the original draft of the Patriot Act was written by Joe Biden way back in the 90s. They tried to pass it with the first World Trade Center bombing. It didn't work. 9/11 comes and they got it passed. That document was written for United States citizens who would become political dissidents. That's who that was made for, was so they could police and imprison us. The NDAA Act of 2012 has a paragraph that gives the military the authority to police and imprison American citizens without due process, which is what they did on January 6th. They put these people in prison who were in there for like 4 years. No one gave a shit because they were able to label them terrorists. And that's their key, dude. If they can label you a terrorist, they can do whatever they want with you and they can make you disappear and no one can say shit about it.
and we've had friends. I know people secondhand through other friends of mine that were in prison and just got out, or they were being watched by the CIA and the FBI. And, you know, the CIA is not even supposed to operate within the borders of the state, right? Like in the borders of the United States. So it's crazy. I know we're living in a crazy time right now. And this is the moment, right? This is the moment where there's a crack in their armor, right? Trump got in after everything. They tried to run the same game. Trump got in anyway. We're watching the disillusion of a lot of these, you know, these alphabet soup of agencies and a lot of these career bureaucrats. And there's going to be a scramble, man. That's what's going to make 2025 such a crazy year, is that they're not going to go quietly. They're not just going to throw their hands up and surrender, right?
Exactly.
Which is exactly why the regular people like us that need to organize and need to be that voice. We both have been on social media with our small groups of people being a voice for this stuff. It was time to take it out there. We're going to have some great guests on that are going to, you know, share a lot of great information with us. But we want to bring everybody into this Discord channel. You know, so keep your eye out for a Patriot Broadcasting Discord, and just keep coming in, participating. If you have a story, we want to hear it. And this is how we're gonna fight back, because we're tired of sitting here and just letting life happen to us. I refuse to engage in that anymore. And if it means that we start by some Zoom meetings the way that corporations work now, then so be it, man.
Absolutely, man. We have, that's the thing. It's like everything, like nuclear technology can either power a city and keep millions of people alive, or it can destroy a city and kill millions of people. It's a matter of how you use it. We have the internet. We have the ability to use social media. We have to use it to our advantage. While they're using it to brainwash and manipulate us, we have to use it, you know, to defend ourselves. So this is what we can do, man.
That's awesome. Troy, thanks for joining me today. And everybody be on the lookout for more episodes coming out in the near future. We love you all. Be safe out there.
Peace, you guys.
Thanks for tuning in to the Scene Projects Podcast Network. We appreciate you listening. You can find more at thesceneprojects.com. Join our community.
Got an ocean full of love that's made for two. We sail upon the ocean breeze and sunshine feels like you loving me. We got a good thing going on, you know that's true. I'm feeling fine, fine, fine. Boy, you love on me like wine. Fill me up, let me take a sip from your loving. Feeling fine, 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 fine. Boy, you love on me like wine.
The following program is part of the Patriot Broadcasting Project, brought to you by the Scene Projects Podcast Network.